You know that feeling, right? You sprain your ankle and suddenly it blows up like a balloon. Or maybe you wake up after a rough night and your eyes are all puffy. That swelling, the medical term is edema, is one of the most common signals our bodies send us. But what is it actually trying to say?
It's something we all go through, but the mechanics behind it are this incredible story about fluid, pressure, and just how complex our bodies are. So today, we're going to play detective. We're going to figure out the mystery of why we swell up and what it really means.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what this whole fluid problem is. Then, we'll look at the body's amazing balancing act when everything's working right. After that, we dive into the 5 main ways that system can break down. We'll check out some real-world case files. And finally, we'll talk about when swelling goes from being annoying to being downright dangerous.
Okay, let's start at square one. When we talk about swelling or edema, what are we even talking about?
So, the official definition is a buildup of extra fluid in what's called the interstitial space. And that's just a fancy way of saying the space between your cells and outside your blood vessels. Now, depending on where this fluid decides to camp out, it gets a different name. If it's in your chest, it's called a hydrothorax. In your belly, that's ascites. And if it's severe swelling pretty much everywhere, that's anasarca.
Right. So to understand what goes wrong, we first have to appreciate how it's all supposed to work. The best way to think about your circulatory system is like a super advanced plumbing network. It's constantly moving fluid from your blood vessels out to your tissues to drop off nutrients, and then pulling it back in to haul away the waste.
And this whole system is run by a delicate, constant tug-of-war between 2 main forces. On one side, you've got hydrostatic pressure. That's the push. It's the simple physical force of the water inside your blood vessels trying to get out. But on the other side, you've got colloid osmotic pressure. And that's the pull. This pull is created by proteins in your blood, especially one called albumin, that act like little sponges soaking up water and pulling it back into the blood vessels. When you're healthy, the push and the pull are in perfect harmony.
So, edema happens when that beautiful balance gets shattered. It's not just one thing that goes wrong, it's usually one of 5 key failures in the system. And our investigation into those failures starts right now.
Here they are, our 5 main culprits. Let's stick with our plumbing analogy. You can have too much pressure, not enough pull, a clogged drain, leaky pipes, or the whole system can just get overloaded. Let's break them down one by one.
So failure number 1 is all about too much push. The hydrostatic pressure inside the pipes gets so high that it shoves way more fluid out into the tissues than can be pulled back in. This is exactly what's going on in congestive heart failure. The heart pump is weak, so fluid backs up and pressure skyrockets. It can also be a local problem, like if you get a blood clot in your leg, a deep vein thrombosis. That clot acts like a dam, and the pressure builds up behind it.
Failure number 2 is the opposite problem, a weakened pull. This is what happens when you don't have enough of those protein sponges in your blood to draw the fluid back home. So why would that happen? Well, maybe your body is losing protein through the kidneys, like in certain kidney diseases. Or maybe your liver isn't making enough protein in the first place, which you see in bad liver disease or severe malnutrition. Without that pull, the fluid just gets left behind in the tissues.
Now, our body is pretty smart. It actually has a backup drainage system called the lymphatic system. It's like the storm drain for your body, sucking up any extra fluid and protein that gets left behind. But what happens if that drain gets clogged, maybe from a surgery or an infection or even a tumor? Well, the fluid has nowhere to go. It backs up, and you get this really specific kind of swelling called lymphedema. And our last 2 failures are a little different. First up, we've got leaky pipes. This is a big one in inflammation. The walls of your blood vessels actually get more porous, so they start leaking. And it's not just fluid. Those precious protein sponges leak out too. That's why a bug bite swells up. Then you have system overload. This is when the kidneys decide to hold on to way too much salt and water. When that happens, the total amount of fluid in your entire body goes up, which, you guessed it, increases the push pressure everywhere. Okay, that's a lot of theory. So let's make it real. Let's open up some medical case files and see how these failures show up in actual people, where swelling is the number 1 clue.
And here is a really dramatic example of failure number 3, a clogged drain. This condition is called elephantiasis. It's caused by a tiny little parasite that gets into the body and completely blocks the lymphatic vessels. Over years, this total obstruction leads to this incredible, massive swelling. It's a shocking look at just how vital that drainage system really is.
Here's another classic sign of a blocked lymphatic drain. With certain types of breast cancer, the tumor itself can physically block the local lymphatic channels.
When that happens, the skin of the breast swells up and gets these little dimples in it, making it look just like the peel of an orange. It's called peau d'orange, which is French for orange peel, and it's a textbook sign that doctors are trained to spot.
And you know, the clues just keep coming, because where you swell up tells a huge part of the story. If you wake up with puffy eyes, that can be a sign of kidney disease, because the tissue there is really loose and swells easily. If your ankles are swollen, especially at the end of the day, that points to gravity's effect in right-sided heart failure. And fluid that backs up into the lungs, pulmonary edema, that's a classic sign of left-sided heart failure.
So here it is, all laid out. Think of this table as our investigation's cheat sheet. It connects each of those 5 failure mechanisms we talked about directly to the diseases that cause them. It's amazing to see how one single sign, swelling, can point to a problem in your heart, your kidneys, your liver, pretty much anywhere.
So you might be thinking, okay, I get it, but so what? Why does this really matter? A little puffiness might seem like no big deal, but depending on where it shows up, it can be incredibly, incredibly serious. Let's talk about why.
Fluid in the wrong place can absolutely be a life or death situation. Pulmonary edema, that's fluid filling up the air sacs in your lungs, is basically drowning from the inside out. Cerebral edema, or swelling of the brain, is a massive emergency because your skull is a fixed box. The pressure builds up with nowhere to go. Fluid around the heart can literally squeeze it and stop it from beating right. And even just on your skin, long-term swelling can stop wounds from healing and lead to really nasty infections.
So after all of this, if there's one thing to remember, it's this. Swelling, by itself, is almost never the actual problem.
It's the messenger. It's a big, flashing sign that one of your body's most basic systems, that delicate balance of fluids, is in serious trouble. Learning to read that message is the first, crucial step to figuring out what's really going on deep inside.